Welcome back to CryptoZonZ, peer-to-peer financial empowerment. Hashtag love all, serve others. What is money and currency? In this podcast today, we'll discuss the basic fundamentals of what true money really is and what can qualify something as a money. We'll look at the history of money and the different forms that it's taken throughout time and millennia. And then we'll discuss July 2020, where we're at, and something I call the Trifecta Tsunami of 1, population, 2, technology, and 3, the emergence of peer-to-peer financial technology. Hey, I'll appreciate it if you check out CryptoZonZ at youtube.com. You can go there by entering in CryptoZonZ, CryptoZonZ, and I'll appreciate it if you like it and subscribe. So, what is money? Money is a language. It's a linguistic expression of value exchange. It can also take the form of time and talent. And the currency is whatever we choose to exchange that value between the two of us. And one thing to remember and help us understand what currency is, it's related to the word current, or the flow. It denotes a flow from my pocket to your pocket. And of course, we want to try to get it flowing from other people's pockets to our pocket. But for anything to qualify as a true money, it has to have 3 fundamental characteristics. 1, has to be a good store of value. Number 2, it has to have a unit of account. And 3, a medium of exchange. And through time and millennia, a store of value has classically been gold. It's known as precious, and it's precious also because it has scarcity. But the unit of account could be when you divide the gold up into, say, ounces, or silver coins, could be a unit of account. And today, largely, we use paperbacks with numbers on it. And as far as the unit of exchange, it has to be widely tradable everywhere to be really a good form of money. But it looks like money predated writing. The earliest manuscripts were known, or we believe they were units, ledgers of account, and they were recordings of agreements. So the agreement was a language that happened previous to the writing. And in prehistory, we could imagine that the money that was used to execute value were things, say, cattle, or agriculture, or crops, or seashells were known. Tobacco enjoyed some time of use as a currency in different regions and different points in history. But when we fast forward to, say, 400 BC to 100 AD, there was in Athens they used the drachma, and then after that was used the Roman denarius, and then after that the solidus in the Byzantine Empire was a gold coin, and then the Arabian dinar for several centuries, and then in Florence they had their own currency. And then you fast forward up to about 1450, and something interesting started to happen. In Portugal, the Portuguese nation had a world reserve currency because their naval fleet was able to have far outreach to other points of the world, and there was developed the need for something to be widely regarded around the world. So then in 1530, Spain came to power with their currency, and then in Denmark, the Dutch India Trading Company, it was an independent it was a private corporation, but they had a currency, and there was when we saw the first use of paperbacks or paper currency to be used as currency. And then France came to power with their currency in 1720, and then the Brits in 1815 with the British pound sterling. And then 1920, the U.S. dollar came to power as a world reserve currency. But specifically in 1944, it was officially handed the scepter of the world as the world's reserve currency, the dollar, out of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which happened in 1944. Nearing the end of World War II, there was over 600 delegates from 44 different nations that met at the Washington Hotel in the Bretton Woods area of New Hampshire to pound out a new global economic agreement. And because the U.S. had by far the world's largest store of gold, they decided that the U.S. would be the world reserve currency as they pegged gold to the dollar at $35 an ounce. And from then until 1971, the world as a whole enjoyed a relative amount of peace and calm, lower volatility, very few bankruptcies. But in 1971 was possibly the most important and iconic economic moment in history when Tricky Dick, Richard Nixon, he announced the dollar was taken off the gold standard in 1971, which essentially made the dollar a fiat currency, or in other words, a fiat by decree or fiat by order. And fast forward to today, every single currency, practically over 99% of the currencies used by nation states today are fiat currencies, or they don't have anything backing them. They're as good as the government is who says it is good. It's could be construed as powerful as the military power of that particular government. But with fiat currency, what really happens is that it really promotes the dynamic of inflation, which greatly increases the wealth and income gap between the rich and the poor. And because it's a dual ledgering system, which is just a ledger for me and a ledger for you, depending on the two entities involved in the transaction, there could be a great lack of transparency and deceit and corruption. We find a lot of that today, and a lack of true accountability, which essentially, as I mentioned before, it just really leads to a lot of inflation and a great big gap in the wealth between the rich and the poor. But a world reserve currency has something that's known as seigniorage, and this is very, very important to understand because it affords the world reserve currency holder something that every other nation on earth is jealous of. The U.S. has seigniorage. What it means is every transaction that they make is less expensive than the other nations on earth. For example, the U.S. wants to buy something from China, they pay for it in dollars. If China wants to buy from the U.S., they have to first exchange their Chinese yuan into dollars. If the Argentines want to buy something from China, they first have to exchange the Argentine peso into dollars and then the dollars into Chinese yuan. So you kind of get my point. It is a very powerful thing for the citizens of the U.S. and a very good position to be in financially and economically. But you fast forward to today, and we actually have four different types of currency. We have the dollar, or nation-state currencies like the dollar, the Chinese yuan, the peso, the Japanese yen, the British pound sterling. We have number two, corporate currencies. Many of you have heard of the Libra coin, and this is a separate economy that hasn't launched yet, but it really is something that provides or realizes a threat to any other economy that exists. We have number three, CBDCs, which stands for central bank digital currencies, and this is a trend. Trends are your friends, so it's important for us to be in step with what's going on here. There's actually 6 different countries on earth which have CBDCs right now. They are Venezuela, Ecuador, Senegal, Singapore, Tunisia, and almost China. They have something that they're going to launch called the DCEP. Stands for DCEP, or Digital Currency Electronic Payment. They are, as we speak, trialing it in 4 separate economic zones, and they'll probably launch it by the end of 2020 or Q1 of 2021, I think by the latest Q2 of next year. Number 4, so we have number 1, nation-state currency, number 2, corporate currency, number 3, CBDCs, and number 4 are people's currency. Of course, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, the first people's currency, and it's truly regarded as a quote-unquote people's currency because it employs a triple ledgering system, a triple ledger accounting system. It was launched January 3rd of 2009, and that triple ledgering accounting system really differentiates it from anything in history. It can't be counterfeited, therefore, and what it means is, hey, there's a ledger for me in the transaction. There's a ledger for you, and there's a forever ledger for everybody else out on the internet. It's open source, so it affords the ability for anybody on earth, anywhere, to view the transactions, and therefore it gives it an inherent, extremely valuable characteristic of accountability. So because of that, it's regarded, or it's estimated that there's over 100 million people who buy, sell, custody, trade, who have bought and sold Bitcoin. So that represents about 1 to 2% of the populace. And we know that gold, for example, has about a $9 trillion market cap. So for a particular cryptocurrency like Bitcoin to have power or status as a world reserve currency, well, it'll have to gain, $5 trillion, $8 or $9 trillion worth of market cap or more, or have what I think would be about 40 to 60% of the population using it or utilizing it. So there's there's a long way to go for Bitcoin to have that status. But where we sit at July 2020 with just incredible amount of global economic instability, with money printing off the charts, with global pandemic, with just the undercurrents of civil unrest, we're at a tipping point, I think, and the battlefield for global dominance is going to be waged on the internet, where there's going to be a war for currency dominance. Now, to back up a half a step, the U.S. is in power. They militarily have by far the most powerful military force. They have, the U.S. came out, the Pentagon made a statement in 2013 saying they have 5,000 military outposts, of which 600 of them reside outside of the U.S. Politico, a media source, says it's more like 800 or 1,000, but whatever it is, we know that by far the U.S. military is vastly dominant. Their Navy is of extreme importance, and because 85% of the products on Earth sail the ocean blue, it could be said that it's of supreme importance what the power of the Navy is. Now, the U.S. has 10 supercarriers, and the rest of the world has only 2 supercarriers. China has 2 of them, and one of them started as a floating casino, so that can't be the best. But when you estimate the entire combined power of all the other navies outside of the U.S., their long-range firepower is estimated to be only 4% of the long-range firepower of one U.S. Navy supercarrier, and we have 10 of them. And that's not even to mention that they will soon launch 2 more multi-billion-dollar supercarriers with laser technology, which will greatly enhance the efficiency of their firepower. So, simply put, with the oceanic trade routes that are out there, and with the U.S. having vast naval supremacy, the U.S. stands in a great position to protect their nation-state currency and the world reserve currency status. But when you look at the dynamic of Bitcoin being something that is by choice or open source, it can't be shut down. It's borderless. Even if they flip a switch, it can be transacted via satellite technology and ham radio. It can't be shut down. And so as we sit at today with the tipping point, it's very, very important for us to remind ourselves of what money really is. So with that said, be very, very careful for what you choose to use as money. And I strongly consider, of course, Bitcoin. This is not financial advice, but we've also got to consider gold or silver or platinum or dollar bills or artwork or land or energy or water or battery power or solar power, real estate, or even what I think is valuable are forms of transportation. I hope this helps a lot. Hashtag love all, serve others. I appreciate your time very, very much. I wish you wealth. No, I wish you health. I wish you wealth. I wish you health. And until next time, peace. Did I say that right? Hashtag love all, serve others. I wish you wealth. I wish you health. Oh, whatever. I wish you well. I wish you wealth. I wish you health. There it is. And until next time, Peace.